Hi everyone, Out of Wisdom speaking. I hope you're doing well. Today we are reviewing the latest update of the GridFather and the Acolyte, my MIDI generative plugins, both version 1.9. Quite a bunch of new features there and some reverb on the UI. We're gonna go quickly into the plugins overview. I've already presented that in the previous versions. I don't want to go too much into that type of detail, so we're gonna go a little bit more into the workflow and how we can use that into a live project. So let's get onto it. Okay, so let's review the interface quickly and mainly the changes that I've done to it. So for those of you who are not familiar with the GridFather or the small brother, the Acolyte, the key difference between those is that part at the bottom, which is called channel weights and per channel phrase weights, as the GridFather is able to handle multiple MIDI channels at the same time, whereas the Acolyte can only do one channel, and it has an impact, of course, on the features that you may have access to. Alright then, so top to bottom, quickly, on the top you'll find the main engine, namely everything which is related to what actually will get triggered by the plugin depending on what you send to it. Bear in mind that it's not a MIDI generator per se, it's a MIDI transformer, which means that you have to fit something in if you want to get something out, namely one note or maybe a chord, whatever. So you just put usually you will put a long MIDI clip with a long note, and then it's going to enter into the plugin, and then it's going to trigger the random step sequencers with possibly a loop with certain level of probabilities. Then you have the master speed, which allows you to slow down the full thing if you want to do a slower generation. For example, if you're into ambient stuff and you want to generate like pads notes or drones, and so you want to have access to notes longer than just half a bar, then you can slow down the whole plugin up to 64 times, which would mean 32 bars at the maximum for a single note. So you're pretty much covered between 1/32 and 32 bars. All right. Following just below the settings for each given note, so its length compared to the step which has been triggered by the engine. So 1/4, you're going to go between 0 and 200% of that note. Note that the length can go above 100%, which allows you to have overlapping notes, which is quite interesting if you want to use the glides. But of course you will need to do something on the transpose, because having just the same note continuously will not trigger any glide. Anyway, velocity, same way, between 0 and 127. Then you have the possibility to trigger a MIDI modulation, so a CC message. If you have a plugin namely that can use the mod wheel, for example, you can dial something and having a value which is triggered for each note. So each note on a given channel, if you are on the MIDI channel, will trigger movements of that MIDI CC and sending that MIDI CC messages to the plugin, which is controlled. Then you have also the possibility to dial in some random pitch bend, same with an attack and a release, and that's pretty much it for the notes. Then you have that transpose section, transposing the note. So if you enter like a E2 into the plugin, so one single E2 note, then you're gonna dial from that E2, which would be the root note. You will be able to dial in notes upwards, downwards, and with a given set of probabilities. We have a menu here, so you can select a given scale, and it's going to automatically dial 100% of all of the notes corresponding to that scale, and then you can tweak it if it's too much for you. If you're playing with the octaves above and below, you can have some of the octaves ignore the transposition. So for example here, if I'm playing E2 and I'm going for the octave +1, then no matter what is set here, it's always playing E3, which is one octave above the E2, and it's gonna ignore those. Whereas if it's playing something in that range, it will select at random a note between all these. All right, then. So that's it for the transpose. And if you want the GridFather, so again, the Acolyte doesn't have that. You have the per channel weights, so you can dial multiple channels, and each of the channel will only receive a given set of notes. And the key the key feature of the GridFather is that it won't trigger notes on different channels at the same time, which is pretty much what you want to achieve if you're doing grid sense. So questions and answers is typically the type of features that you want to use. Something which is fairly new, it has been way improved between version 1.6 or 1.7, is that you have per channel phrase, which is much clearer now, which basically dial in for how long a given channel will have the word, will be able to speak, so to say. So here, if I'm just playing and the channel number 1 is selected, then it's going to play a given set of notes between all these for a quarter of a bar, or for half a bar. So I can dial the priority of having longer phrases or shorter phrases. It allows you to have something which is not switching from channel to channel at each note, which would be a total mess in your output, but really like question and answer. So for example, channel 1 will play for half a bar, then channel 2 will play for a quarter, and then it's going to be channel 4, for example, for another half a bar, and that's pretty much it. The new stuff that you have, this is really new to version 1.9, is the generate MIDI stuff. It basically allows you to export directly what the GridFather has generated onto a MIDI track. So for that, you see that for now it doesn't contain anything, as we need to fit something in to have some MIDI out. So let's just start and play something. So here what you see is that we have E1 entering in the plugin, and then it's triggering some notes that we can see here. These are the notes which are generated. We see also the velocities and the length of each of the notes, and also the channels which are being generated. And then I can dial in, export CC messages and pitch bend messages or not. And if I generate MIDI, I'm on a given loop, then it's going to fill in this, telling me that there are notes for channel 1, channel 4, channel 5, and channel 6, whereas 2, 3, 7, and 8 are empty, which means that the probabilities have not triggered any note for this particular sequence. If I press new and I generate a new sequence, then you're going to see that the numbers will change, because each time I get a new number, it's a new sequence which is generated. And then from there on, I can just drag from the plugin onto a track and get the full sequence ready for further tweaking if you feel like it. So this one has only one note. Let's grab channel 2 as well. It has a bit more notes, etc. The good point is the generate MIDI has to be clicked for something to happen, which means that you'll never lose a MIDI generated stuff until you press the generate MIDI. So the file is there and you can use it and drag it. You have time to show it. You also have the multi-track. The multi-track is a multi-channel MIDI file that you can drag and drop as well on your project. Some DAWs will not be able to handle that properly, and this is why you have the individual channels. Namely, in Bitwig, if I just drop down in my grid instruments, instead of adding to channels 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, it's going to create new tracks and add that to the new tracks. It's not a big deal, but it's a bit of an annoyance. So you see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. We just had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because there are no notes for the other ones. So it's a bit cumbersome. So if you're in Bitwig on some DAW which can do that, it's probably better to dial in, to drag and drop the individual channels. It doesn't mean that you can't just drag channel 1 onto the instrument which was on channel 2, because it will still work, but you won't get the same result as what has been generated in terms of sound, of course. That's pretty much it. So we can now give a try on some real sound and have a go at the plugin. And I probably start by the Acolyte and then we'll switch to the GridFather. So let's just hear the raw foundation for the track. Nothing fancy, so we just start with just one instrument here. Let's see what we do have. So that's a serum instance and some kind of vowel. Yeah, I need to add it to the solo. So that's some formant-ish sound with some send to the delay. And let's deactivate the Acolyte first. So I got one long note here, just a single E3. So that's pretty much uninteresting, and I definitely don't want to have that playing all the time. So let's activate the plugin and set up a few elements. So let's say that for now I'm gonna not activate the loop. If you don't activate the loop, then just for those who will be asking, then when you generate MIDI, it's gonna give you the last 2 bars that have been generated. So, but it changes every other bar, so you need to be fast in case you're not looping. So maybe it's good to have 2 bars but fixed and then press on new to get new sequences as you want. So let's do that, and I'm just pressing on new so I get a random sequence. I'm gonna have a little bit of a lot of 16s and a little bit of 8s, and let's remove the sidechain. That feature allows you to kill a note which would play otherwise on the downbeat. So sometimes you don't want to have that. If your sound may clash with the kick, then usually you will use that thing. Keep in mind that anyway, once you record the MIDI out or generate it and drag and drop, then you can still change things, remove notes, add more notes, change the notes, whatever. I mean, it's free to you. It's not audio, so you have all the freedom to change things. So let's play with that. Remove the transpose for now, and let's remove also the glide. And for the rest, I'm gonna remove the pitch bend and only have something on the modulation on the mod wheel, because I've added a little bit of stuff with regard to the mod wheel, which is controlling the filter drive. So that thing here. Let's have a play. I can work a little bit with the play probar. Now let's add a little bit of notes above, same octave, only the root note, not too much of them, let's say 30%. Maybe we want to have, actually we want to have that lower. That's way better. And now let's generate the MIDI. So in the Acolyte we'll only get 1 channel because it's a 1-channel plugin, and I can drag and drop that onto the project like so. And if I open that, I'll see all the notes which have been generated with their velocities, which depends on the settings which I've dialed, and the length of each of the notes. And I have as well, let's close the plugin for a while, and we have as well the channel modulation which has been generated, so we can have a look at what it has done. So as you can see, we have some interesting modulations happening with a fast attack and a slow release. And this is actually sending the information. Of course, you can remove it, you can play with it again, you can change the notes, as I told you. If that, for example, if some of these notes, maybe I won't have this one lower. And so, of course, I need to deactivate the plugin if I want to hear the sound in context. We won't have the kick and bass, I guess. So it's a bit longer because the last note somewhere and the modulation may extend a little bit the MIDI sequence, so it depends on the DAW. So let's say it's only 2 bars because that's what I've generated. Sorry. And let's have. And let's say that this note doesn't interest me. So if I want to use that in my project, I can just drag it somewhere where I have a kick. Oops. And play for that. No, sorry again. Where am I? I have no clue. Oh yeah, that's it. Because this is my initial note, and let's go there. No, that's not that sequence. And there we go. Let's keep that. And let's change that a little bit. Yeah, I want to have this on another note. And this one I want to have it lower. And add another one here. Probably made a mistake here. That's the G that I want. And I have something which is already quite consistent that I can use, and I can put that on other instruments if that sounds better. And that's pretty much it for the Acolyte. We're going to switch to the GridFather. So you're going to see that it's going to be quite similar. Let's remove anyway all this and stay there. So I'm gonna deactivate. Let's deactivate. Okay, it's deactivated already. No problem. And I get there. Whoop. Let's read that. So let's unsolo everything. Go to that. Go there. And so we have two things here. We have Hive, which is just right after the GridFather. So it still will receive all the notes, but that will be a little bit messy because it's going to play all the notes which are going out of the GridFather. So let's deactivate this one. So this channel will actually not play anything. And on the GridFather, I've set up a few things. So all the channels are activated. I got phrases. I got some sequence. And now the only thing I need to do is have the routing proper. So as you can see, these instruments, they are listening to the channel, so the GridFather. Yeah, no, I need to change that. Oh, sorry, that's here. Yeah, the GridFather. So they are getting information for the GridFather, and each one is listening to a specific channel. So depending on your DAW, will have a different setup. I've put down a video in the comments in which you'll find everything to set up in 5 or 6 different DAWs, depending on what you are using on a daily basis. The only DAW that you should probably avoid is if you're running Ableton, then you probably will be better off using the Max for Live devices instead of the VST plugins. The Acolyte will work perfectly in the Ableton Live, but the GridFather will not, because Ableton doesn't let you output notes to different channels, MIDI channels, from a VST plugin. It's a limitation of the DAW. In that case, what you would need is AutoGrid-MIDI edition, which is the version for Ableton Live specifically, Ableton 10, 11, and 12. All right, so the last thing to do is put all these tracks to listen. So I'm arm them depending on the DAW, and then let's just press play, and we should get some sound going from all the channels. Yeah. So I've let the glide. So let's remove that because notes are overlapping due to that fact. That's not too bad. Let's save that. So let's save the multi-track. It's, to me, more convenient, though, if it's creating new channels all the time on Bitwig only. So you see that I have channels 1 to 8. So instead, this would go to my first 7 tracks, and there would be nothing on the 8th one. No, not this one. That's a bit annoying. There I go. And so I can start over and generate a new loop. So that's pretty much it. I think I've covered all the features of both the Acolyte and the GridFather. I hope you like this new version. I hope you like the new features, especially the drag and drop MIDI, which was a feature that has been requested a few times on my previous videos and by some of my users. So feel free to leave a comment. If you are not already doing so, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'm not posting too much, just when I have updates or new versions and or new plugins or Max for Live devices. And hit the like button if you like this video, and I'll see you soon for another one.